uh, of course, thank you to the other organizers for the invitation to speak here. It's a great pleasure. And I see that there are lots of experts in the audience. So I hope my talk is not too elementary. But anyway, so in any case, please feel free to unmute and ask questions if you have any. I'll be happy to answer them during the talk as well as later, maybe. So, okay, so let's start with a picture about near rationality properties, which all of us have seen. So these are several near rationality properties of smooth projective varieties over a field, which soon is going to be of characteristic zero and even algebraically closed. So let me very quickly recall the definitions. So yeah, so again, I mean, this is the seminar where, I mean, most of the people are already experts, so I don't need to explain this. So I mean, I'm not going to, the talk is not going to involve any of these per se. Perhaps the closest that comes to what we are talking about is retract rationality, which means that the variety admits an open subset, which is a retract of an open subset of some Pn. And it is known that all these implications are cannot be reversed, except the last one, which is an open question. So the two more rationality, near rationality properties of interest are universal R triviality and universal uh, Chow zero triviality, and I will come to the definitions very soon. So uh, the universal R triviality just means that over every finitely generated separable field extension on the base field, the set of R equivalence classes has to be singleton. And of course, the set of R equivalence classes is the quotient of the set of k rational points by the equivalence relation generated by the relation that two points are related if they are connected by a rational map from P1 to X. So it is assumed that the map is defined at 0 and 1. I have not included the definition of universal Chow not triviality, but let me just recall it here. It's not going to play a big role in the talk, but I have included it for the sake of significance. So of course, this just means that so there is a degree map from the Chow group of zero cycles of, let's say, X base change to K to Z, and you just demand that this is an isomorphism for all finitely generated separable extensions big K of little k. So if this happens, then you say that X is universally Chow not trivial. Uh, so it is known that rational implies stably rational, implies retract rational, implies universally R trivial, and implies universally Chow not trivial. Uh, so the implications which cannot be reversed, I have indicated in the diagram. It's a big open question whether this one can be reversed, and it's also a big open question if this one can be reversed. Anyway, so I'm not going to say too much about this. So I'm only going today's talk is only going to involve universal R triviality and a little bit of universal Chow not triviality, but I will not be explicitly using it. So here's the main result which I want to talk about in a non-technical way. So standard norm varieties corresponding to symbols in model Milnor K theory are universally R trivial. This is the statement of the result, but only after passing to an algebraically closed field of characteristic zero. So for every prime L. So L is a given prime. The base field is assumed to be of characteristic zero, and we are only able to show that the standard norm varieties which appeared in the proof of Bloch-Kato conjecture are universally R trivial after passing to the algebraic closure. So I will indicate, I will be recalling the definition of the standard norm varieties, as well as I mean, where the proof gets, as well as I will be explaining where the proof gets stuck. Why do we need to pass through an algebraic closure? So the best known result up to now is due to Karpenko and Merkuriev, uh, which uh, which says that, which shows that these standard norm varieties are universally Chow not trivial. And we are able to show that these are universally R trivial after passing to the algebraic closure. But anyway, I will come to the precise definition of the standard norm varieties very soon. So here's just a quick recall on the definition of Milnor K theory. So it's the quotient of the tensor algebra on K star as a Z module by the Steinberg relation, the ideal generated by the Steinberg relation, and the Bloch-Kato conjecture proved by Voevodsky gives a relationship between mod L Milnor K theory of a field and Galois cohomology with coefficients in mu L tensor with itself n times, uh, where we assume that the prime L is different from the characteristic of F. So this will not be a problem because we will only be using characteristic 0. I mean, norm varieties are defined only over characteristic 0. Uh, yeah, and of course, the case n equal to 2 is the famous Merkurev-Suslin theorem, which identifies mod LK2 with L torsion in the Brouwer group of the field. Okay, so now let's get started with the construction of the standard norm varieties of a standard norm variety associated to a symbol in mod L K theory. So this construction is based on an idea of Voevodsky and described by Suslin and Zhukovitsky in their paper, where they work out all the details of many properties of these norm varieties. So the setup is that of a field of characteristic 0. You have a prime number L, and then you look at the Lth symmetric power of X, which is obtained by taking the product of X with itself L times, and then taking quotient by the action of the symmetric group, which acts by permutation of factors. Now, this exists as a scheme. We are starting with a smooth projective variety. So this exists as a scheme, but this need not be smooth. This is singular in general. But what you can do is you can throw out the union of all partial diagonals, and then the geometric quotient exists as a smooth scheme. And this is what we work with. So here is the the Voevodsky Suslin Zhukovitsky construction, as I have called it. Uh, I mean, the explicit way of constructing is not, I mean, it's not necessary to remember it, but let me just give the definition for the sake of completeness. So instead of forming the L-fold symmetric power directly, it starts with a minus 1 stage, and then there is a degree map from X cross sim minus 1 to sim L. And if you restrict to, if you put L, then you push forward the structure sheaf, and this is locally free, and then there is a well-defined norm morphism. And okay, so this, I mean, one does not need to remember this. It is
So there was a problem
see,
with
I'm
connection.
sorry. So I don't know which page. So this page was visible. I think
Yeah,
I was
everything
lost
was
somewhere here.
visible. We just couldn't hear you for a little while, for a couple of
Okay,
minutes.
okay, okay, okay. So yeah, so okay, all I was saying was that so this is the construction of the norm variety. We don't need to remember the exact form of the construction. So all we need to know is that this norm morphism can be seen as a, I mean, if you look at the scheme associated with this vector bundle, which is the push forward of the structure sheaf of X cross sim L minus 1 and restricted to U, uh, inside that the norm can be seen as a homogeneous polynomial, and I mean, given any unit in K, one can look at the closed subscheme defined by the equation n equal to A. And okay, am I audible now?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
good
okay.
now.
Okay. So, okay. So Suslin and Zhukovitsky show that this norm hypersurface is smooth over U and geometrically irreducible, and it is crucial that L is a prime here. So I will not go into the details, but yeah. So this is all we need to know. And what we do is you take a smooth compactification of this, and this is where the characteristic zero assumption comes into picture. So define nxa comma l to be a smooth compactification of this norm hypersurface. Okay, since the base field has characteristic zero, by resolution of indeterminacy, we can assume that this nxal is proper and surjective over a smooth compactification of u. And so anyway, so all that will be relevant is that this nxal admits a proper surjective morphism to some smooth proper variety which is birational to sim lx. So the problem is that sim l is singular, and which basically is the main difficulty while handling this. But yeah, and anyway, I'll recall this part and come to the technicalities later when they come in the middle of the proof. So now, having defined nxal, the standard norm varieties are defined by an inductive procedure. So you fix an integer which is at least 2, and fix units a1 a2 up to an, and consider the simple symbol in the mod l k theory. So the standard norm variety is inductively defined. So for x a1 a2, it's just the Savary-Brouwer variety associated with the cyclic algebra on a1 and a2. And when you have to go further, it's defined by this inductive procedure. So if x sub a1 to an minus 1 is defined, then you take its L-fold symmetric algebra. You look at this norm hypersurface corresponding to norm equal to an, and then it's take its smooth compactification. And so there is a choice involved, and then you define this inductively. And okay, so there is a conjecture which is which is quite interesting, because so of course this procedure a priori depends upon the order of the sequence a1 to an. Of course, if we took an even permutation, then it would give the same symbol, but it's not clear if it gives the same construction of the standard norm variety. So this is dependent upon the order. But there's a conjecture which says that equal symbols give rise to birational standard norm varieties. So I think this is verified in the case of Milnor conjecture, which is L is equal to 2, in which case the norm varieties are Pfister quadrics, and or are related to Pfister quadrics, and also the case related to the Merkurjev-Suslin, where L is arbitrary and N is equal to 2. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is verified by a student of Merkurjev. I think his name is Nguyen Dinh. Anyway, so I thought it's just interesting. It's an interesting question. So anyway, so here's the main theorem. So start with the field of characteristic 0, a prime number, and a simple symbol a1, a2, an in model Milnor-K theory of K. Then if you take this x alpha and base change it to k bar, then this is universally R trivial. And as I said, universal Chow-Knot triviality is already known due to Karpenko and Merkurjev in 2013. Okay, so we expect the following generalization of the statement to hold. So we expect that as soon as it has a k rational point, it should be universally R trivial, but we are not able to show it as of yet, and I will come to the point where we get stuck later. Of course, as one can guess, the proof is going to proceed by induction, and the n equal to 2 case is actually trivial, because Savary-Brouwer varieties, after base changing to algebraic closure, just become projective spaces. So it's after this step where things start getting complicated. Okay, so
sorry. By the way, I mean, would you expect
yeah.
that condition, that like having a rational point is just equivalent to these varieties, to, let's say, to the symbol being 0? Should that be equivalent?
I think so. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. But does universal R trivial? I'm not sure if universal R triviality implies that the symbol should be trivial.
I just wondered. Okay.
I'm not sure. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Okay. So yeah. So let me. So for simplicity, let the standard norm variety at the n-1 stage, x a1 a2 up to a n-1. Let me call that x, and we are assuming that this is universally or trivial. Now x alpha is formed by forming the symmetric L-fold symmetric power of x, then taking the norm hypersurface, I mean taking the push forward of the structure sheaf from x cross sim L-1, and then taking the associated scheme, and then inside that taking the norm hypersurface, and then taking the taking a smooth compactification. But anyway, so we need to know that we only need to know that this x alpha admits a surjective proper morphism to a smooth projective variety W, which is birational to sim L of x. Uh, and we show that x alpha is universally R trivial in two steps. So first one is is a characterization of universal R triviality, which says that it is in terms of the generic point. So instead of checking it over every finitely generated separable field extension, you can only check that the variety should have a k rational point which can be connected to its generic point by a chain of p1s defined over the over the function field of the variety. And this part is already well known. It was definitely well known to experts. It has implicitly appeared in the works of Bruno Kahn and Koluthilen. Uh, but I will, I mean, for the sake of completeness, I will give a quick proof because it's actually quite easy. And then the next step, so this actually gives you a consequence which allows you to check that whenever you have a morphism like this, if the base and the generic fiber is universally R trivial, then the total space is universally R trivial. So then you are reduced to checking that the base is universally R trivial and the generic fiber is universally R trivial. And this is where the crux of the proof is. So anyway, so let me talk about the easy part first, which is this characterization, which is kind of well known to experts. Uh, so here's the general statement. So you start with you work on so take any smooth projective variety over a field of characteristic 0. It is universally R trivial if its generic point can be connected to k rational point by a chain of p1s. So the proof is actually quite simple. So let's just assume for simplicity that there is so it's connected by just one p1. So there is x naught, which is a k rational point, and you can connect the generic point eta to it by a single p1. So what you can do is you can spread it to an open subscheme U of x. So this is defined over the generic, I mean, this P1 is over the function field of x. So now by taking, so for any point of U, you can take the slice of this P1 over that point and you can connect it to x naught. So it's, so we only have to connect points outside U to this x naught that we have over here. And of course, I mean, so of course the residue field of that point can be anything, but I mean we can always base change to that field and assume that the residue field is k. And now so how to bring this point in? So this is a very simple procedure. So this is where smoothness comes into picture. So suppose that you have a point x which is outside, which is a k rational point outside you. So find a smooth projective curve passing through x and x naught, which intersects U. So this can be done by taking general hyperplane sections containing x and x naught, and this is possible because our variety is smooth. And once you have that, so we already had this morphism which was given by this connecting P1 from P1 U to X. So you will get a rational map from P1 over C to X. Now we are over a field of characteristic 0, so you can resolve indeterminacies. And so now then some blowups might be involved, but then you can lift all these curves there, and basically using the exceptional divisor, you might have to use some extra p1s, but you can do that and then connect x to x naught. So the idea of the proof is, and in the proof itself is, I mean, fairly simple. So this gives the characterization. So the consequence that I wanted to use is the following. So suppose you have a generically smooth map of smooth proper varieties, and if the base and the generic fiber are universally R trivial, then the total space is universally R trivial. And in order to prove this, one only has to stare at this diagram, so which I will explain soon. So if you, so the generic fiber means something, so it is included over here. So let me call it y eta. So eta is the generic point of x, and we know that it can be connected to a k rational point by R equivalence, so which means a chain of p1s. And since we know that y eta is also universally R trivial, applying the characterization to y eta, we know that y eta has a the function field valued point. So this contains some function field valued point, so which is okay, I should say let me just be vague. I'll just say this point is kx valued, and so this point gives rise, so this function field valued points gives rise to this rational section, which I have written over here. Now what you can do is you can resolve the indeterminacies of this section using this x tilde, and then it is easy to see that you take the generic point of x tilde, it can be connected to the lift of x naught to inside x tilde. Okay, so because it can be connected, first you can look at the generic fiber, and there the generic point can be connected to this xi over here, and then you can use the chain of p1s given below to and lift it to connect this. So this is fairly straightforward to see once the characterization is given to you. So I'll not say much about this. So let me just recall the statement of the theorem for convenience, and just so the step one, which we just now discussed, is the characterization of universal R triviality and the consequence. And now the step two, which is so we have a proper surjective morphism from x alpha to something smooth, some smooth projective variety birational to the L symmetric power of this x a1 to n minus 1, and we have to check these two things, that any smooth projective variety birational to the symmetric power is universally R trivial, and the generic fiber is universally R trivial. So checking that a generic fiber is universally R trivial is fairly easy, thanks to very nice results proved by other people. So let me come to that now. So let me just describe a situation and then quickly indicate how to apply this in our context. So suppose that you have a separable extension of degree L, which is not Galois. The Galois closure is L, denoted by L, such that the Galois group of the big extension L over F is symmetric group SL, and the Galois group of L over capital K is SL minus 1. Okay, so consider this situation. So this is what is, anyway, so it's obvious what is mimicking. I'll come to that later. And now you can look at GM over capital K, and you can look at its way restriction to F, and then the norm map actually can be seen as a homomorphism of algebraic groups from the Weyl restriction to the GM, Weyl restriction of GM to GM. And now, of course, you can, for any unit, you can look at the you can look at it, you can look at the pre-image of that unit, n inverse of A, and so n inverse of 1 is just the norm 1 torus, and it can, by the way, so there is actually a typo over here. So I have, so this one over here is a typo. So if there is a I should have written that if it has a f rational point, then this is isomorphic to the norm 1 torus. That's what I should have written. So the norm equal to A, the norm hypersurface norm equal to A is isomorphic to norm equal to 1. So that's what I should have written. So sorry for the typo. And so there are very nice results known about the norm 1 torus. And so this is due to Endo, but the direction that I use is due to Kolyuthilin and Sansuk. So this says that the norm 1 torus is retract rational if and only if L is a prime number. So, but anyway, our L is already prime, so we only need to use this direction, that if L is a prime number, then the norm1 torus is retract rational, and hence universally are trivial. Uh, and this direction was already known to Kolyutalin and Sansuk. And so once one uses this, then one knows that any birationally smooth proper model of the norm hypersurface is universally R trivial. So just because it's retract rational. So this is what comes into picture in our main result. So of course it's so now, I mean, okay, we are going to check universal R triviality only after base changing to algebraic closure. So I mean, for simplicity, just to make it easy to read, I have not gone on writing k bar. So let us just assume that k is algebraically closed. So of course you cannot assume right from the beginning that k is algebraically closed, because otherwise mod L k theory will be trivial. So I mean, the statement is that you start with a norm variety defined over an arbitrary field and then base change to k bar, then it's universally R trivial. So anyway, so for simplicity, let's just assume that k is algebraically closed, and then our f is just the function field of the symmetric power. K is the function field of x cross L minus 1 symmetric power. So this was the degree L map, and that's what gives you the difference between SL minus 1 and SL, the Galois groups. And then L is the function field of x to the L, the product. So actually, yeah. And so here's the trick. So the trick is that the equations defining the standard norm variety have coefficients in K. So if you base change to algebraic closure, it will always have a K rational point. So this is where we know that I mean, this x alpha has a k rational point, and we are able to use the criterion that it has a k rational point, and the generic point can be connected to it by chains of p1s. I mean, that follows because the norm because of retract rationality. uh, so this is where so what we need to know in general is if x alpha has a point over the function field of CML. So if we know this, then it might be possible to push the proof through to show what I was trying to claim. I mean, what I was hoping to have earlier, that x alpha is retract rational if and only if it has a k rational point. But it is, I don't know, it was at least not at all clear to us if x alpha has a point over the function field of symmetric power of the x a1 to an minus 1 to begin with. So anyway, but okay, so luckily, yeah, I mean, the equations defining x alpha have coefficients in k. So when you base change to k bar, you always get a k point. And so then, yeah, so then this makes it quite easier. So this handles the first part. And the second part is tricky, and that's where I'm going to spend most of the remaining time. Yeah. So as I said, yeah. So this is what remains to be proved. So I mean, so this was the so what I described just now was the fact that the generic fiber is universally R trivial. Now we have to check that the base is universally R trivial, and the base is something smooth proper variety. It's a smooth proper variety birational to sim L, and so it's actually not hard to show that sim L is universally R trivial. So I mean, I mean, it's one can actually show it, but the problem is that it's singular, and that cannot be used to prove that a smooth proper model of sim L X is universally R trivial. So it's only a birational invariant of smooth proper varieties. So so anyway, but what one can I mean, it's enough to construct one smooth proper model that is universally R trivial. So then we are done, because then once we have for one smooth proper model, it's a birational invariant. So then we can get it for anything. So okay, so this is what we are going to prove. So first we need to find a way to. So of course, our assumption is that the induction hypothesis is that X is universally R trivial. I mean, that's what it gives. And then we have to conclude the same for something birational to sim LX. And so we are going to have a chain of P1s connecting the generic point on X to a K rational point. We have to get a chain on the symmetric power and then to a suitable resolution of singularities of it. So that's the plan. So this is the kind of tricky part of the proof. So I'm going to go slow over this part. So assume that X is universally R trivial, and I realize that I just contradicted the notation that I used on the previous slide. So I used L for function field of X to the N, but anyway, it's okay. So for this slide, I'm using this one. Sorry about this sloppiness, but big K is the function field of X, big E is the function field of X to the L, the product, and L is the function field of the symmetric power. So now K, of course, tensor with itself L times is an integral domain, and its field of fractions is E. And so now starting with K points, big K points of X, we have to get I mean L points on the symmetric power. So this we can do it in 2 steps. So of course, so if you start with a point P on a K valued point on X, you can take its power, I mean this product L times, and then you get a spec K tensor L valued points of X to the L. And now you pull back by the generic point, and then you get an E valued point of X to the L. So now here comes the trick. So there is an SL equivariant isomorphism from P1, so over big K, product with itself L times, with P1 over little k L times product with E. Now, how does this come? So let me just explain this briefly over here. So of course, when I take K, I actually mean the generic point. So one should think of this as something like this. So say, let me write eta for the generic point of X. So you are looking at product of this form over here. So now when you take the product of P1Ks out of this L times, so then what you are left with is this eta cross up to eta. And this is basically the generic point of the product. And that's why you are getting an E over here. So that's the point. And for the SL equivariance, of course, I mean the SL action on the right is the action on E, which is coming from the action, the permutation action on K to the tensor with itself L times. So this is a little tricky, but then starting from a starting from a K point on big K point on X, you are getting an E point on the product. And now since this is SL equivariant, you can take quotient by SL. So yeah, so now if you have a P1 which connects to big K valued points, so P and Q, so there is a P1 over big K connecting these 2 points. Then what you can do is you can take the product of this map L times over here to get a map from P1K product with itself L times to X to the L. But by this trick that I mentioned over here, so you can identify this with P1K product L times with product with E, and then you can just use the diagonal, and then you get yeah, P1K tensor KE. So basically, yeah. So I mean, this is just P1 over E. And now when you go modulo SL action, you will get a map from P1L to the symmetric power. So that's the idea. So that is how we are going to get chains of P1s on the symmetric power. Yeah. So okay. So since this is the tricky point, please let me know if there are any questions at this stage. Okay. So yeah. So now so once you do this procedure, so starting with a chain starting with a rational curve connecting P and Q, you get a P1 on sim L connecting P to the L and Q to the L. So this is the idea. Now what you do is so we know that X is universally R trivial. So we can start with a chain of P1s connecting the generic point of X to the K rational point X naught of X. So, and by using this procedure, you get a chain of P1Ls on symmetric power connecting the generic point of sim L to this X naught to the L, which is a K rational point. And the problem actually comes from the fact that this X naught to the L is in the diagonal. So here's the point. So of course, I mean, it doesn't have to be a single P1, it can be a chain. And by nodes, I mean, of course, it's a chain, I mean, like this of P1s connecting. So by these points, I mean the nodes. So suppose it connects the, I mean, it's a representative picture, of course. So if it's connecting I mean, eta to the L to x naught to the L, so of course, this point over here is not in the smooth locus, so it's in the singular locus. But it can happen that these nodes can also, I mean, some of the nodes can also lie in the singular locus. So one has to make sure that this doesn't happen. I mean, we need to, I mean, the idea is, of course, to construct an appropriate desingularization of sim L and to lift this chain of P1s to that desingularization. So, I mean, we need to first of all make sure that, I mean, of course, curves will lift, but we need to make sure that the nodes are in the smooth locus. And of course, this last point does not lie in the smooth locus at all. So we have to do something about that. But yeah, so let's come to that later. So, of course, so this is the problem. So I mean, of course, x naught to the L, as I said, is not a smooth point. Uh, and so of course there is, so suppose we ensure that the nodes of the chain of this P1s are in the smooth locus. Even if we ensure that, if we go to a model, and I mean, if we construct an appropriate desingularization and lift everything there, it is not clear that the endpoint lying over x naught to the L is k rational. So I mean, yeah, so these are some of the problems that we need to address. So okay, so I'm going to write this chain of P1s by this representative picture. So I mean, I'm calling these nodes as y1, y2 up to yr. So this just means that there's the first P1 maps 0 to eta and 1 to y1, and then the so on and so forth. The next P1 maps 0 to y1 and 1 to y2, and so on. So of course, now eta is positive dimensional. It's the generic point, and x naught is k rational. So of course, some of the in-between points are going to be positive dimensional, or some are going to be k rational. So of course, now the trick is that if you, I mean, of course, in this chain, you might hit a k rational point somewhere. So one of the yi's might be k rational. So you take the first one, which is k rational, and just call it x naught. So you change your k rational point so that you ensure that all these yi's are not k rational. So they are their transcendence degree is strictly greater than 0. And then if you see, the trick is that then they cannot lie on the diagonal. So if you consider this, if you consider these yi's, and if you consider this yi to the L, these cannot lie on the on the singular locus. So the reason is that you, I mean, first take the product, but then you are pulling back by the generic point. So just the fact that these have positive dimension, the dimension argument will tell you that these cannot lie on the diagonal. So then we don't need to worry about these yi's. So then all the chain is in the smooth. So this chain of curves is rational curves is all lying in the smooth locus. Only the endpoint x naught to the L is in the singular locus, and that's what we need to handle. So of course, this is what I just said. So you have this chain which lies, I mean, all its nodes except x naught to the L, I mean, are in the smooth locus. Okay, so now, what we need to, so of course, I mean, this is, I'm just recalling the thing. So we need to prove that this, I mean, we need to check universal R triviality. So we need to connect eta to the L to a k rational point in some smooth proper variety birational to this. So how are we going to do this? So you just keep blowing up k rational points over x naught. Okay, so you keep blowing this, and now the point is that this, of course, I mean, there are two ways of doing this. So you can go to this symmetric power and then keep blowing up x naught to the L, which is over here. Or what you can do is you can start by, in x, you can go on blowing up x naught and then take the symmetric powers and come here. So for bookkeeping purposes, the former is, the latter is better. So, but anyway, so let me just vaguely mention the idea. So the idea is that you keep on blowing up k rational points. So you keep on blowing up this point at the node, and you can ask what happens to the end. I mean, so see if C prime is the curve here, it will lift to some curve in the resulting blow up. But the endpoint, and you look at the endpoint over x0 to the L and see what its I mean what its residue field is. So the point is that K is algebraically closed. So of course, I mean, you cannot keep getting K rational points over that. That's the claim. And the reason for that essentially is that the point over here, which is before that, is positive dimensional. So it's essentially a dimension argument. I mean, one has to write it out precisely, carefully. We have done that in our paper. So what you do is so you go up to the point, you keep blowing it up so that ultimately the curve lifts to something where the endpoint over x0 to the L is positive dimensional. So of course one has to check that this works, and it indeed does. So I mean, what I'm doing is that so this chain which I had on the previous page, so you keep blowing up x0 already over here till so that ultimately the final endpoint is positive dimensional, and hence in the smooth locus. And hence the resulting point in the on the symmetric power will be in the smooth locus if you do this corresponding changes over here. Now the problem is that so this is what one has ensured. Now you take this resulting globe. So we are already doing these globes before when we are dealing with x, and so suppose that the exceptional divisor is T, and so the blobs are done in such a way that the lift of x0 to the L lies in the smooth locus of sim L of x tilde. So this can be arranged. And now you know that all this chain with all its nodes and endpoints lift to sim L of x tilde. So you can resolve singularities from the points which are outside without touching this part. And then this will be the desired desingularization. But the part that is still slightly unclear is that now the endpoint, which is over x0 to the L, is positive dimensional. So you have to still connect it to a K rational point. And so it requires a small argument. So it remains to connect this final lift to a K rational point. But note that so this point lies in the symmetric power of the exceptional divisor. So which is T, which was the original exceptional divisor in the blow up x tilde to x. And so this is just blowing up K rational points. You're blowing up K rational points until you get until it blows up. So this T is going to be a rational variety, and then symmetric power of a rational variety is rational. So now it requires a little bit of an argument again to show that I mean, if this is rational, okay. So if this symmetric power of the exceptional divisor is rational, of course it has an open set which is isomorphic to an open subset of some affine space. And if this Y lifts to this open set, then of course there are plenty of rational curves which you can use to connect that to a K rational point, because there are plenty of them in that open subset. What happens if this Y is outside that big open subset, which is outside which is isomorphic to some open subset inside some affine space? Of course, so then one has to carefully argue that you can approximate this point by a rational curve and bring it inside U. And this is actually a well-known argument. We have written it out in detail in our paper, but we later found out that I mean, this is already explained in some notes of Totaro. Not Totaro, sorry, I'm sorry, Kolar. Sorry. So yeah, so this part also works, and this gives the main result that we wanted. So if you start with an universally R trivial smooth projective variety, then any smooth proper model of sim L is universally R trivial, and this completes the proof of universal R triviality. So okay, I realize that I might have gone a bit too fast because I have finished 14 minutes too early, but maybe we can discuss and have questions if any. I can take questions if any. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any question? Any question?
Yeah, so let's see. I guess when I can sort of correct one thing I was saying. I think, how would I say that these norm varieties, you wouldn't expect them to have a rational point as soon as the symbol is 0, because they're only supposed to have good properties sort of up to primes, sort of inverting primes away from L. So the way people usually formulate this is, if you consider a field such that every extension has degree of power of L, then maybe you might expect that as soon as the symbol is 0, then it should have a rational point.
Yeah, I think this is one of the defining properties. I think this was one of the defining properties, right? So these are supposed to be the generic L generic splitting fields, is what they're described by. Yeah. So this is the property that they have.
Okay. And then the other thing is, so you use this fact that the symmetric powers of rational variety are rational.
Yeah.
That's true. I just wanted to say that that's an old result by Maddock, and so maybe one should give the reference. I think I can give the.
I see. So in our
there.
I see. So this is due to Maddock.
Yeah.
Thanks for the reference. Actually, so we actually found this in a textbook actually. So we gave a reference to a textbook, but we'll give the original reference. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the reference. Yeah.
I think that also follows from the no name lemma.
Yes, it does.
I know. Let's give more recent proofs. Yes. But,
yes, it does follow from the no name lemma. Yeah.
I have a naive question about your construction. Is it enough in general to connect 2 points in some open subset to conclude that the say in a projective variety to conclude that this projective variety is universally R trivial?
I don't know, but I guess smoothness is necessary, right?
Yes. I'm assuming that the projective variety is smooth. Because I think if that were true, it would simplify your argument quite a bit.
Yes, that is true, because then this last part which I just spoke, that would be simplified. Yeah.
And that kind of thing is true for the Chagrova zero cycles, because you have sort of moving lemmas, but for rational points, it wouldn't seem so obvious. I don't know.
I doesn't seem obvious. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so more questions?
Sorry, you assume characteristic 0 because you need the resolution singularities? Can you do something without
in the definition, it's assumed to be a smooth compactification, a smooth proper compact. I mean, it's a smooth proper model in the definition itself. So for that to exist, I mean, let me just go to the place where I have given the.
So you just don't have the object without it.
Yeah. So here, so this NXAL. So this is a compactification.
Okay, thank you.
Of the norm hypersurface, and it has to be smooth. So this one, I mean, to make sure that it exists, would require characteristic 0.
But still, you can assume that it exists and try to prove something about it.
Yes. You can try to prove, and I guess then, I mean, the proof as I don't think it uses characteristic 0 very strongly anywhere. So I believe it should be true. Yeah, if the object exists, then I still need to check some things like I mean, if you have a rational variety, and if you take the largest open subset which is isomorphic to something in AN, and you want to bring the bring any point which is inside that thing. So I mean, okay, I don't know. Maybe maybe it is possible. I mean, that's the only place where I would be careful about. But otherwise, I think most of the things should go through.
Okay, thank you.